Alright, I have been contemplating doing this one for quite a while. I've struggled finding the perfect angle to go into the material, but I don't know, the movie's out on DVD now, so I guess I've waited long enough. I mean, it's long past being, relevant to Cineplex. I guess I can talk about it. About now everybody's seen it, so I'm not really spoiling anything. And, I looked on YouTube a little bit before I started mulling the idea for the video, and there's already, 100 of these videos out there. So I know it's hardly anything new. It does come off as, slightly clickbaity, but hear me out. I have a point here. There's some relevancy here, and it's probably worth it. All right, so just to begin, before we get into the whole idea of whether or not Get Out is racist or not, let's start with the basic film itself. Take away the politics, take away all the social, relevancy. This is what I think about it as a standalone movie. All right, overall, I think it's a slightly better than average movie. I don't think it's really a groundbreaking film or a pioneering film, or really all that inventive of a movie, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think it's a movie where it has the exact same problem that just about every Hollywood movie has nowadays. And that's the fact that we've been so wrapped up in the whole episodic content delivery module, of TV series. Because everybody watches TV, everybody binges on Netflix. We're so used to having a never-ending story to where every episode leads to another episode. Everything is just perpetual setup like the Marvel Universe and the DC movies. We're so used to that I think movie screenwriters have actually forgot how to do a three-act story. And I see this with practically everything that comes out nowadays. The first act usually pretty good, second act usually good, but the third act they have no idea how to finish a story. And I think Get Out is a movie that has a pretty good beginning, a really strong second half, but a third act which just really kind of, collapses under its own weight. So there's that. As far as the acting and the storyline, I mean, it's all, decent, but nothing to really, write home about. Nobody deserves an Oscar for anything in here. And the plot itself, I mean, this really isn't a new idea. I mean, this is basically just a slight deviation of the old Stepford Wives storyline, right? All you did was sub out the feminist elements and put in the Black Lives Matter stuff. And really, even before then, this is basically a carbon copy of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, only with all of the anti-communist paranoia substituted out, and instead you have sort of the whole, white privilege, paternalistic white hegemony thing going on here. Is it hegemony or hegemony? I've heard it both ways. Let's just go with hegemony, just because it sounds like a 1980s rock and roll band. But yeah, it's the same material we've been seeing for years and years. And it's one of those things where people are saying that horror is getting deep because of this movie. If this is deep, what does that make the movies that it ripped off? What does it make Stepford Wives? What does it make Invasion of the Body Snatchers? These are all incredibly, rich sociopolitical movies. And, well, yeah, it's neither here nor there. That's an entirely different story. But let's get down to the meat of the matter. Get Out. Is it racist? Now, before we get into this discussion, we got to talk about what racism is, because, if you don't have a concrete, universally applicable definition of what racism is, if you're throwing it around, it means nothing, because you can apply it to everything. So racism, for the intents of this video, we're going by the old classical definition. Racism is anyone who feels that one particular race is intrinsically superior to another. Can we all agree that if you believe that your race is superior to a different race for whatever reason, that's kind of racist? All right, we agree on that. Now hold that in the back of your head, because we're going to go back to it and apply that terminology to Get Out to show why, yeah, this movie is actually kind of racist by its own definition. So the film itself. Here's the plot. You've seen it by now, and if you haven't, I don't care, I'm going to spoil it for you anyway. You got this one dude, and he's dating a white chick, and they go out into the country, and they have like this huge mansion out in the woods, like in New York or somewhere. And the parents are your typical, lily white, liberal people. They talk about how they voted for Obama, and the mom is like a therapist of some kind. And basically what she does is she manages to like slowly like brainwash, the boyfriend. Like she gets him to like kind of fall in like this spell. Every time she stirs a teacup, it makes him just like become subservient. And they invite a whole bunch of their white friends over, and they have like, 2 or 3 black people in the entire movie, and they all act really, for lack of a better term, unblack. which I think is another kind of racist thing about the movie we'll get into a bit later on. So anyway, this guy, the boyfriend, the central character, he realizes, the maid is not really acting all there, and the groundskeeper not really acting all there. And then this one guy shows up, and there's a line where the boyfriend's like, "Man, I'm so happy to see another black person around here," which in itself, it does kind of seem a little prejudicial. That he doesn't really feel comfortable around white people, and he's so happy to see just any person who looks like him, and that is a huge, huge subplot later on. Then he goes to bump hands with him, and he shakes his hand, and he's like, "Oh wow." So right from the get-go, we kind of have this idea that there should be, at least in the main character's perspective, maybe not the filmmakers, even the script writers, but just to this character's eyes diegetically, that there's a certain behavioral mode of operation for African Americans. That is unquestionable. That's just the way the character thinks, right? It's obvious. It's part of the plot that he believes, you should speak a certain way, you should act a certain way, you should have certain gestures. So he goes into it with a very, very preconceived notion of what blackness is, and I guess by extent of the director and the filmmaker and the message trying to get across, they're kind of guessing that any deviation from this, a typical mandated standard issue blackness is bad. And I don't think that's really racist or even really prejudicial. I just think it's a little, I don't know, it's kind of a mildly intolerant perspective, that you have to say that people have to act a certain way or speak a certain way or believe a certain thing to be part of your in-group. That's just really just, it's smug and it's slightly elitist, but that's not the bigger issue here. So anyway, the story rolls on, and eventually what we learn is these white people are like mad scientists, and they've come up with this sort of procedure where they abduct black people and put them under like some sort of like coma and do surgery on them, where basically they transplant the brains of white people into black bodies, and then they go off and go on and live their merry way. Now that's kind of a huge plot point itself, because if you can do, or not a plot point, I mean a plot hole, because these people have mastered the art of brain surgery, they should be billionaires. Like, why are you keeping this a secret? You could be out there, patenting this and making literally billions of dollars each year and saving the world. But, of course, it's a movie. Nobody thinks that far. They're all insidious straw men. And they think that they should only use this for one purpose. And here's where the film, I think, you got to say, using that definition of racism earlier, the film is unquestionably racist in one regard. Because forgetting the straw men white people who are, of course, evil and secretive, and the fact that you have this really strong message that, kind of implying that, black dudes shouldn't date white women because, they're trying to angle for something, or that you should be suspicious of any black person who doesn't act quote-unquote black, and that's a huge plot element. Going beyond that, all of the white characters in this movie have the exact same sort of drive and underlying plot point for why they want to become black people, literally. It's because, and they say this over and over again, and it's exhibited through not only the white character's dialogue, but even the black character's dialogue, that in the diegesis of this film, look it up, it's an actual cinema term, that black people are superior to white people. And they say this over and over again. There's that line where the guy's like, "Oh, white people, we are gods in cocoons." And you have the son who wants to be like an MMA fighter, and he's like, "Man, if only I were black, I would be great." And you have like all the white women like touching the black dude at the party, feeling his muscles, like, oh, it's a superior species. And, have all this other stuff going on, and it's indelibly kind of racist. I mean, it is, because it's positing that you're saying that black people are genetically and physically a better specimen than white people. I mean, that's an inescapable part of the movie. That's like not even like hidden. That is a literal plot point of the movie. In fact, that drives the entire thing. The entire premise of the movie is, old, frail white people want to hop inside the bodies of young black people so they can be strong and muscular and athletic. And there's this ridiculous subplot about one of the grandfathers who ran a race against Jesse Owens back in the day and lost. And he's had like this lifelong vendetta that his meager white body wasn't strong enough to carry him against black people. So now that he's black, he runs all the time. I mean, it's really absurd. I mean, can you imagine like the inverse of this movie ever happening? To where you have like a bunch of rich black dudes abducting white people and sucking out their brains so they can be better at, I don't know, line dancing or Sudoku or something. I mean, it's just really preposterous. And when you really think about that message, the underlying intent of the movie, sorry, but that's kind of racist. I mean, the implying over and over again that genetically black people are superior, or at least, superior, as far as overall physiology. Yeah, that's pretty racist. There's no way around that. And no one's really kind of brought that up. I mean, it's a movie where, you can write off as satire. I mean, it's just kind of like paranoid stuff. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Stepford Wives. It's a creation of its time. And, it's a fairly good movie, and I think the overall message here, I mean, some people might pick up on it, but I'm guessing most people don't. They just kind of see it as like a sort of a diatribe against, white privilege and microaggressions and all the usual stuff. But underlying the movie, there is a really sort of aggressive, you know, uh, mythology of black superiority. And it's one of those things where, like I said, it's not subtext, it's text. They come out and say it in this movie. It's the entire driver of the plot. And I don't know, it's just one of those things where I have to see the subtext in all these movies. Like, you hear people saying that Zootopia is promoting like urban supremacy, and the Angry Birds movie is promoting like anti-refugee sentiment. You hear all this stuff, and it's fun to kind of go over it and say, well, maybe it's saying this, maybe it's not. But then you have a movie like Get Out, where the material there, like the stuff you're conjecturing about, isn't even subtext anymore. It's right there in your face. It's kind of weird that you have something that blunt, but nobody brings it out. But what do you know? So all that to say, I think it's unquestionably quasi, semi, pseudo racist because it fits that definition. It's a film where the filmmakers, the script itself, kind of lends credence to the belief that a certain people are genetically superior, physically superior, athletically superior to another kind. Which, you can look that up, you can show me examples, you can show me facts, but remember, it's a two-way mirror. If one statistic turns out to be true, then there might be an ulterior statistic you don't want to believe, which is true. So, yeah, it's just a big old something. It's I don't know, just something that kind of, flustered me that nobody's kind of brought that up and kind of focused on it when it's literally, like I said, it's the whole premise of the movie, but no one really cares. But all that to say, you know what, even if Get Out is kind of, sort of, slightly, probably, kind of, maybe racist, you know what? I don't care. I don't care because we live in the United States of America and you have free expression. Even if you do have sort of these racist, paranoid inclinations, I believe you have a unfettered constitutional right to believe whatever you want to believe and put it in whatever movie you want to, and more power to you. Go out there and do that. You have the right to be offensive, you have the right to be controversial, you have the right to say things that are unpopular, you have the right to make broad, sweeping generalizations like Get Out does. And I say go out and do it, because I believe in freedom of expression and freedom of speech and freedom of all that other stuff a whole lot more than I do, my own, meager feelings about an entire, ethnic group being stereotyped. And this chance it'd be the white people, but you know how it is. But yeah, go ahead. I mean, I'm not upset about the movie. I don't think it should be banned. I don't think people should burn it or boycott it. I just think it's one of those movies where it's a funny movie because the entire premise of the film, I guess, is sort of, taper off into this subconscious, white supremacy of contemporary culture. But at the end of the day, the message you walk away from the movie is undeniably a staunch black supremacist diatribe. Just something there. I mean, that's not even really opinion anymore. That's exactly what the film posits. So, yeah, just my thoughts. Is it racist? Is it not racist? I'd like to hear your opinion. Let's get a flame war going. Let's get some hearty discussion in here, and we might do a follow-up video. If your opinion is strong enough, we might do a little debate about it. All right, so those are just my meager, simple hypothesis. I would love to hear yours. Let's get the ball rolling.